Imagine your leadership journey like a bus trying to get somewhere. You're behind the wheel of it, you're driving, you have your team that's working hard, but the bus doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. Why is that? Well, some people might be pushing it forward, some people might be pushing it backwards, and some people might not even know where the hell the bus is going. This is exactly how leadership plays out. People are not clear on directions, they're working against each other, and the bus is not going anywhere. If you ever feel like this, and you ever feel like there's chaos, stay tuned. This is the wake-up call you need. I'm Chad Carden, and for the past 2.5 decades, I've worked with leaders across the globe to help them create clarity and alignment and make sure their bus ends up in the right destination. So as a leader, I always ask one question. I'm going to ask you the same question. Where is your bus going? Which means ultimately, where is the destination? What is the end game? What results are you asked to drive? And the question becomes do you know? Do you have people that are working together? Not just working together, but truly working together to get the bus to the end destination? Or do you have people on all four sides of the bus pushing, working really hard, but again, your bus is stuck? So if you feel like this, let me walk you through a few things on how to be more efficient and more effective with the bus and the direction of where you're taking your team, your department, your organization. It really comes down to what we call CAP, which is clarity, alignment, and purpose. Clarity around a couple things. Number one, what's the end destination? What's the direction? What are the goals that you're trying to accomplish? Again, are you clear? And more importantly, is your team clear? So once you have clarity around goals and directions, the next thing is, do we have clarity around expectations? Does your team understand what you expect of them? And even more importantly, do you understand what they expect of you? Because if there's not clear expectations, there is additional chaos. There's frustration. There's confusion. Good friend of mine, Adam Carroll, once said that uncommunicated expectations creates pre-planned resentment. Here's a quick test. Ask your team. Think about right now and write down what are the top 3 things that you expect of your team every single day. There might be hundreds of things that they have to do, but if you had to boil it down to the top 3 expectations, what would those things be? And then just ask your team that same question. And if they say the exact same things you say, it's clear. If they don't, it's not an indictment, it's not a gig, it just means there's work to be done. How can you help center the needle around clarity, around what are the goals and what are the expectations? The quickest way I know to understand if that's true or not is to ask your team and see what responses you get and see if their responses line up with your responses. It comes down to this, are we watching the same movie? I'm currently in the midst of writing and researching a book called Half the World's on Acid. And the first half of the book says is that we truly operate in our own world. I could put a movie out there and make an argument that one person's watching the same movie. And that's the same question with your team when it comes to direction and expectations. Are you watching the same movie? Are your televisions on the same channel? If not, how can you create clarity around those things that create stronger working relationships that make sure your bus is moving in the right direction and you're achieving the results that you're asked to achieve? After clarity, if you have clarity around goals and expectations, the A in CAP stands for alignment. If your team is clear on the direction, the goals, and the expectations, the next question becomes, do they agree or are they aligned? Let's say for take a conversation, your bus is going to Denver. Wherever you're at, let's just assume your bus is going to Denver. The question is does everybody want to go to Denver? Because there might be people that are on the wrong bus. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they're on the wrong bus. Let's assume that half of them want to go to Minneapolis. Well, those people, if they want to go to Minneapolis and the bus is going to Denver, they could create chaos for you. They could create frustration. They could create confusion. They could create sidebar conversations with other people on the bus. You really don't want to go to Denver, do you? Don't you want to go to Minnesota? Don't you want to go to Minneapolis? Like they could create those conversations and they're not working efficiently. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about people working against each other, people on all four sides of the bus pushing, maybe working hard, but the bus isn't going anywhere. So you have to ask yourself the question and make sure that your people are not only clear, but they're also aligned. And if they're not aligned, you have to help them get aligned or potentially get off the bus, right? Because once you're clear on where your bus is going, it should never slow down. It should never back up. So the next question is, are they aligned? After we have clarity and alignment, the last thing is, do they have purpose? Do they understand their purpose? Which means no matter what seat they sit on the bus, do they understand how that seat impacts and adds value to the end destination? Because if your people don't understand their purpose, they could potentially be working against the goals and the expectations and maybe not even realizing it or knowing it, or they could lose engagement and fulfillment along the journey. And that's one of the worst things that we can have with an employee is when they lose fulfillment and engagement with what it is that they're doing. So that purpose becomes a real anchor point to create value and impact for each one of your team members so they truly understand, no matter how big or how small their piece is, the seat that they sit in, how it overall drives the direction and the goals of where the bus is going. If you have CAP, clarity, alignment, and purpose, now what you have is you have people on the same side of the bus pushing, and which creates efficiency, effectiveness, and gets you to your end destination a heck of a lot quicker. By the way, I just released a new ebook, The Power of People and Culture, that walks through all this information in depth. Download it in the link below. So once you have clarity, alignment, purpose, and you're clear and aligned around the goals and the expectations, now the question becomes, where is your focus? A lot of times what happens is people will move forward, or they're trying to move forward looking in the rearview mirror. Think about it. If you're on the bus and you're driving it and it's going 80 miles an hour down the interstate, should you spend the majority of your time looking in the windshield or looking in the rear view? Most leaders spend their time looking in the rear view. Think about this for a second. Your mind thinks in 3 different buckets. It thinks in the present, it thinks in the past, and it thinks in the future. So a lot of times when we start with the present, we try to create better results. We try to create better direction. We start with the present. We think about kind of our current situation. You might do a SWOT analysis. You might think about your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. You might think about all that stuff. But here's what happens unconsciously, and most leaders don't even realize they're doing it, is when they begin to create that future, they anchor in the past. They're making decisions based on looking in the rear view versus looking in the windshield. And the past can't see the future. So the past is really an anchor point because it's telling you or justifying why you can't do things in the future. So if you truly want to look through the windshield, you have to forget about the past. Matter of fact, sometimes even forget about the present. What is. We can't change it. We certainly can't change the past. We can only impact and influence the future. So as you're making future decisions, as you're looking where your bus is going, as you're creating that clarity, here's my challenge to you. My challenge to you is only bring the past forward if it adds value to the future. If it doesn't, cut it, forget about it. They always say that a wake never drives the boat. Right? The wake is behind the boat. It never drives the boat. So stop looking in the rear view and start focusing on the windshield. Because sometimes if you don't know where your focus is, you could be on the right road, but you could be going the wrong direction. Like for example, if I'm in the middle of the country, if I'm somewhere in the middle of the country and I'm going to Denver, I'm probably going west. So I need to get on a road that's going to take me to Denver. Interstate 70 runs, I think, right through that thing. But if I could be on the right road, I could be on Interstate 70, but if I don't know where my focus is, I could be going east. And that's not going to get me anywhere. It's going to create, again, more confusion, more frustration, more chaos, and not create that clarity, alignment, and purpose. So ultimately, where is your focus? Are you making decisions looking forward, or are you stuck in the past? And if you're stuck in the past, cut the anchor today and begin marching on. Our organization is not immune to this bus analogy. We have to consistently and constantly create CAP within the organization. We are actually growing probably at a speed that's a little uncomfortable. I love it, but for some of my team members, it might create a little challenge mentally on where is our bus going. And so we have to consistently, what I call center the needle. We have to get our heads wrapped around the direction and the goals of what we're trying to accomplish. We have to make sure we're minimizing distractions. There's a lot of noise in our organization right now, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it could actually have an adverse impact and hinder progress. So we are consistently creating CAP. We are looking at goals, directions, and expectations. We're creating alignment. We're creating purpose for everybody. And what we're finding is as we create that CAP, the more CAP we have to create. I say that because it is a constant and never-ending improvement battle. We can't do this at the beginning of the year and think that we have it. We're meeting weekly. Sometimes we're meeting daily, just looking at CAP and where it is we're going with our clients, with some of the impact that we drive, with our online presence, with our social media. And so ultimately, CAP is very present in our organization as well. So it's not just me preaching out there, it's me living it and doing it. And I'm not perfect. I have a lot of my wounds are self-inflicted, but ultimately, CAP has played a big role in our growth that's allowing us to, in a sane way, move our bus in the right direction. If this was helpful, you're going to want to watch my next video on why good employees are quitting. It focuses on how to drive a people-focused culture to stand out and become the ultimate employer of choice. Check it out now.